I realize I'm showing you my mess. I'm fixing it. I have to order some furniture from IKEA. Hi friends, my name is Emily and welcome back to my channel. Today I am filming a long weekend reading vlog. So this is the Easter long weekend. We have Good Friday off work, then Saturday, Sunday, 3-day weekend, and I have decided to tackle, I should face the microphone. I have decided to tackle my currently reading pile. So these are the books that I carried over from 2020 into 2021 in my reading journal video, my Q1 stats video that I recently shared. I pointed out that I haven't touched basically anything. This weekend I am going to try and sample these and determine whether or not it's something that I can finish, it's something that I can unhaul, or it is something that I can remove from that list and put back into the shelves to start from the beginning at some point in the future. We have Greek Myths by Jean. I've heard her pronounce her last name. I cannot for the life of me recall how to do that correctly at this moment. She's Jean from Jean's Bookish Thoughts. This is a children's book. It's beautiful and I'm maybe like a third of the way in. I think I can finish this probably this weekend as well. The next book I have here is the final report of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada Volume 1. This is about bearing witness to and a record of what settlers and colonizers did to the Indigenous populations in Canada. I find with nonfiction like this, it is something that you don't want to read through in a week and then shelve. Like, it's something that you have to sit with. You should sit with and internalize this information. Since we moved here, since I changed jobs and I work like a 9 to 5 at a desk doing sort of mind-numbing work, when I pick up a book I want to escape. So you'll see quite a few pieces of nonfiction here that are the heavy sit with it important reads that I'm stalling on. I think I'm gonna keep this on the list, but maybe set myself some sort of page goal a month or chapter goal a month so that I am allowing myself the space to be reflective on this, but also still using my free time for like escapist reads. The next book I have here is, again, not a light read, and that is Refuse, CanLit and Runes, edited by Hannah McGregor, Julie Rack, and Aaron Wunker. So this is a collection of critical pieces on CanLit. I believe it was sparked by that Reiki professor and like how many large figures in CanLit then stood up for the accused opposed to believing the victim who had the courage to come forward. This is just critical of the CanLit space, that small insular community. Not an easy read, but it's also a mix of poetry and essays. The next book I have here is something that I'm really looking forward to, but it was part of a project that folks didn't necessarily respond with the most enthusiasm to, and I think at this point, because the amount of time that I have for YouTube, it's hobby status. I'm gonna do what I want. I mean, hopefully I can make this interesting enough that I will get folks to care. These are the letters of Ursula Nordstrom. Ursula Nordstrom was this badass lesbian who took over the children's department of a publishing house and made children's lit what it is today. She published things like Goodnight Moon and Marie Sendak. She also published, oh, where is it? Stevie. By John Steptoe, which is in African American vernacular. I think she took over the department in like the 40s and 50s when publishing was not very diverse and she was prioritizing these things. She's a badass and I wanted to make this series about her and the works that she published and wasn't a positive response to it, so I shelved this, but this is something I'm still excited about, so I'm gonna keep this on the TBR. I don't know that I'm gonna make an effort to finish it this month because it's something that I want to dedicate a whole month to. The next book here is Final Harvest by Emily Dickinson. I picked this up when I started watching the Dickinson television adaptation, that like loose, kind of wacky, modern adaptation. I find poetry sometimes hard to read in isolation. Like, I feel like if I were with a book club or in a class, I would be really loving this, but because I'm reading it by myself, I find it a little bit difficult. Actually, now that I'm looking at most of these things, they're either like short story collections or they're odd pieces. The next book I have here is the Virago Book of Witches. I don't know where the dust jacket for this is at the moment. These are folk stories, I guess, is the best way to describe it. Folk and fairy stories. Some of them are really weird and kind of meh, like any short story collection. Some of them are beautiful and creepy, and there's one here that I have tabbed that I feel like would be fun to illustrate to break out my my paints. I could probably finish this as well. Then I have I'll Get There, It Better Be Worth the Trip by John Donovan. So this is one of the books that Ursula Nordstrom published. It's one of the first pieces of queer middle grade fiction published. It pairs with this book. Okay. These are just gonna keep falling down. The next book I have here is Pleasure Activism, The Politics of Feeling Good, written and gathered by Adrienne Marie Brown. So this is all about Black women's pleasure. And so it's very easy to pick up and put down because you read one person's experience, one person's contribution. This goes with the truth and reconciliation piece. It's a hard read. It's a read that I want to sit with. I've been reading this for over a year now, I think. This is The Hanging of Angelique, the untold story of Canadian slavery and the burning of Old Montreal by Afua Cooper. It's exactly what it says on the tin, and it's one of those things that I didn't encounter in my education, like my Canadian history education. So it's something that I dip in and out of, and I want to give myself the space to like really absorb, do further research, do further reading. So this isn't a quick read by any means. I feel like it shouldn't be. Like, you don't want to read this and then be like, yep, I read one book about slavery in Canada and then just move on with your life. I feel like this is something that you want to sit with. The last book I have here is Everything Under by Daisy Johnson, and this is a weird novel that is apparently based on a myth. Apparently, if you know the myth, you will know the plot points, but it makes it make more sense. Obviously, I'm not familiar with the myth because I am not picking up on anything, and it just feels like a bit of a mess. I think maybe I'll give this like a try, a chapter or two today, and just based on the folks who I follow who have reviewed it, I sort of trust their opinions, and if they feel like I don't think anyone that I trust who's reviewed this has given this higher than a 3-star. Do I really want to spend my time on something that may be a 3-star or less? Like, I'm clearly not motivated to pick it up if it's been sitting here for so long, right? I can see this one easily being eliminated in this vlog. So I have 8 books here to decide, finish this weekend or this month, set goals around finishing it if it's something that I want to sit with, or DNF and unhaul. Let's jump into the one that I probably need to reassess, and that is Daisy Johnson's Everything Under. All right, so first decision made is Everything Under by Daisy Johnson. I am going to DNF and unhaul this. I found the dust jacket for it, and in finding the dust jacket, I read the dust jacket and I can see why this appealed to me. And like reading the dust jacket, I'm like, ooh, that still sounds really good. Should I save this and give it another chance? But I've tried. I tried to get into this the first time when I was really excited about it. I tried again now. And I think maybe the thing that is why this is maybe not for me right now is that it's going to leave you unsettled and unstrung. Like, that unsettled and sort of mess feeling is what this whole book is. And while that might be intentional, that's not... Oh, all the reviews on the back. Johnson's heady broth of folklore, female sexuality, and Finland landscape. It's a mix of Graham Swift and Angela Carter. I still see why I wanted this. I can always borrow it. I can always find it from a library. It's not like unhauling this book that I have struggled with right now and have no interest in reading right now ceases to exist if I unhaul it. So I'm gonna stick to my feelings of it before I found the dust jacket and all of the marketing for it, and unhaul it. Maybe I'll try and finish the Virago Book of Witches today, because that I am very close to finishing. I just finished the Virago Book of Witches. Again, there wasn't that much left here, and these are short stories about witches from around the world, so like folk and fairy stories. Like any collection, hits and misses. I think this would be a fascinating text to teach. I think it would be a fascinating text to write about. There are essays in here that I think you could do. There are probably PhDs that you could do on just some of the folklore and what these pieces of folklore have to say about society's view of women with power throughout history. In terms of enjoyment in isolation, I don't know that I would recommend this. I think I was really excited about it because, like, witches, and I think I picked it up in the fall of 2020 because witches and like spooky season, right? I think unless you are going to study this topic, if you have an interest in folk and fairy stories and like the history of women with power, I'm not sure that you're going to get much out of this. I finished this. I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. I'm not gonna unhaul this because I feel like there's potentially a video or 2 in here. I think especially with maybe some of the children's lit, like Roald Dahl's The Witches, like you could use some of the texts here that have similar ideas about witches and women with power and like come up with some interesting essays, some interesting video essays. The star rating is more about the enjoyability for me. And while it wasn't like a new favorite, I can see its utility. I get to cross the second thing off my list. What time is it? I have D&D at 1, so it is 11:40 now. Maybe some Emily Dickinson to mix things up, some poetry opposed to a short story, because I think the other thing that is tackleable in this weekend is Jean's book on Greek mythology, and that I feel like is going to have similar vibes to this, some hits, some misses, because it's like short stories about each of the gods. So maybe some Emily Dickinson. All right, so I'm gonna take a little snack break. So I've dipped back into Emily Dickinson. Her poetry has a very samey quality to it. I mean this in the nicest possible way, but it's all very bouncy and interested in nature and God and death. There are some beautiful like one-liners here and there, but again, I'm feeling like this collection is something that I would get a lot out of if I was studying it opposed to just reading it for shits and giggles. I think when I picked it up, I maybe had intentions of doing like a video series. I remember in 2020, I was really thinking about broadening the content on the channel and doing some TV reviews, like film reviews, TV reviews, and there was a show for it, right? I think there still is a show for it. I mean, it still exists. I don't know if they're still making it. So yeah, I think I maybe picked it up with like vague channel ideas. And so I had an angle and now I have no idea what it was. I just have a note in the back like for video. Like there's just a note here for video for all of my video notes. So clearly I was planning on doing something with it. But I think if I had some intentions with it, some way to sort of shape my reading, I might be getting more out of it. But right now it's just sort of this like bouncy, samey poetry. Is that horrible? I feel like she's very well loved. D&D went well. Then we went for a walk, and now I gotta clean up the mess. I gotta clean up the mess. To work on this. Do you need? Alright, put it away. Alright.
personal level, like there's interpersonal racism, there's microaggression.
Good morning. We have to be fairly quiet because Miles stayed up late playing video games. Mind you, he'll probably sleep through anything because he slept through his alarm as well. Good morning. It is Saturday, April 3rd. It's only the 3rd of April, but last night I had this little panic. We played D&D yesterday, and we were trying to pick the next one, and I was looking at all of the dates. I was like, oh my god, this book's due like tomorrow. The live for this is May 1st. The live for this is April 24th, but I'm like, that's gonna go like that. Had a little panic about whether or not it was smart to keep doing this reading vlog where I try and pick off. Yeah, mostly I'm just procrastinating from reading while I drink my coffee. This morning I have officially run out of paper filters. So Miles bought me a like pour over coffee setup for Christmas, and it came with some paper filters. It was like a kit. This seems wasteful, so I bought myself like a cloth reusable filter for my pour over coffee. But it has a taste, and I have washed it, but you can taste the cotton in the coffee, and I don't like it. Like, now the coffee tastes like church coffee hour opposed to like delicious small batch coffee. That has nothing to do with this reading vlog. I'm just sad. Okay, so this morning I'm going to read a little bit more of Emily Dickinson. See, I'm about a third of the way in. I realize as I'm reading Emily Dickinson that it doesn't feel very purposeful. I'm just seeing sort of the same things over and over again. I don't have a reason to read this, and really I am dragging my eyes over the words because I have put it in this finish up what I'm reading vlog, and I'm not really enjoying it. Whatever idea I had here for the video Once Upon a Time is gone. Whatever interest I had in this Once Upon a Time is gone. I feel like this might be fun to study in like a class. If I could find something like that, maybe I would pick it up, but I think I'm actually going to DNF this. I'm not going to unhaul it. Maybe one of my universities will allow me to audit a class, and if they have an Emily Dickinson class. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's got to be out there. But I think I need to read this with a purpose. It all has this really bouncy feel to it. She has basically this idea, I feel like, of what a poem is rhythmically. And they all have this sort of da-da, 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 da-da feel to them. Every once in a while, I find a line that I'm like, yes, that is gorgeous. What a way to say that. Thing that I'm coming back to is without an essay to write, without an essay topic to search for, I'm just sort of lost in the da-da, 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 da-da of the poems. DNF'd Emily Dickinson, put that in my reading journal, made note of it, like took it off of Goodreads and stuff. I am going to work my way through Greek Myths by Jean Menzies, I believe is how she pronounces her last name. Focus that. So I just finished Greek Myths, written by Jean Menzies and illustrated by Katie Ponder. This is a beautiful collection of child-appropriate Greek myth retellings, and there's a little bit of education. There are like quick bios for a lot of the gods and goddesses, and then at the back we have just like influence of Greek myths on like the naming of things, monsters of myth. Like, it's very aesthetic, very beautiful, probably aimed more towards the 9 to 12-year-old. I feel like this would be a nice companion, like a very aesthetic, beautiful gift for a middle grader who is maybe into Percy Jackson and like the myth retellings that are being played with by Rick Riordan. The one thing that I found kind of funny, and like I think we all know that like Zeus is like the #1 rapist in mythology. Basically anytime he has a child. It seems like the woman that he slept with didn't exactly consent. Obviously this is for children, and so it's like, oh, Zeus snuck into the room as a golden shower and then she was pregnant. Like, it's just like that, like the fairy tale retellings where like the prince visited Sleeping Beauty and she woke up pregnant, right? Like, there's definitely some of that happening here. As an adult reader, I find kind of hilarious, but I also don't know how you would be like, and the main figure here, he raped a woman. Again, do you know what I mean? I don't know how you make that child appropriate, like that history, that mythology child appropriate when it is very much violent by nature. I thought this was well done. I thought this was fun. It's beautiful. Oh my gosh, the illustrations are gorgeous. The color palettes, the like aesthetic of everything. So good. It's all nonfiction that's left. I picked off all of the really easy reading. I think I'm gonna dip into Refuse, CanLit, and Ruins because this is lighter. Basically, I'm just avoiding the heaviest things, which is maybe not the best strategy for this project, but it's the approach that I'm taking. So I am on part 2 of this collection, which is Refuse. Part 1 is Refusal, part 2 is Refuse, and part 3 is Re/Fuse. Hello, happy Easter. It is Easter Sunday. Basically, it shouldn't affect anyone's life in any way, because we're all in lockdown. I was enjoying reading in the backyard. I am currently working on Refuse, CanLit, and Ruins, and I really enjoyed the middle section, which was just Refuse. Now I'm in the final section, which is Re/Fuse, like rebuilding, fusing together in a way where you can see the breaks. This is really good. However, it was incredibly hard to concentrate reading in the backyard. It's finally kind of warm. It's like 17 degrees. I was sitting outside in the sun. The family who we share a back fence with, they are barbecuing shrimp and steak. And between like the youngest child who keeps wanting to touch the hot barbecue and hot oil, and the oldest child just yelling nonsense at the top of his lungs, being rude to his mother, pushing the little brother when the little brother wasn't trying to touch the hot oil. It was like almost impossible to focus on anything. So now I'm back in the house. I have officially become like old man yells at kid for stepping on lawn. Quickly, before the camera battery dies, I just finished Refuse, CanLit, and Ruins. This was phenomenal. Joshua Whitehead's essay wraps up the collection. This is so powerful. If you are at all interested, if you're a Canadian, if you read CanLit, you are interested in the CanLit space, I think this is really important, a really interesting read, and I would definitely recommend that you check it out. I will talk more about this at some point, probably in the wrap up. All right. Hi friends. So it's actually like 2 weeks later. I'm editing and I realized that I don't have an outro for that Easter long weekend vlog. So I brought you down to my mudroom, which has the best light in the house right now. So in this vlog, I DNF'd a couple things, I finished a couple of things, and overall, I reduced that pile of books that was just sitting there down to 4 books. So I do have to come up with a plan for tackling those books. I feel really good about taking this weekend to clean up some of these books, to complete the task in some way, if that makes sense, because having them sitting there, I don't know, it doesn't feel good. I like to complete things. Have I touched any of the books at all in the 2 weeks since the start of this vlog? Absolutely not. I have been working on The Wolves of the Kala, which is one of the Patreon book clubs that I run. And so the live show for that is coming up on April 24th. You can probably hear the child that I maybe complained about earlier in this vlog. We destroyed our backyard this weekend. We reclaimed like 10 feet of yard by cutting down the bushes, and unfortunately we've now made visible to the eye. So before he was buried by like 10 feet of foliage on his side of the fence, and now he can come up to the fence and see us. So may have to start thinking about planting some privacy screening foliage that isn't like mostly dead and overgrown in the next few weeks. Otherwise, my little reading oasis that I'm planning for our backyard is And on that note, thank you patrons for making videos like this possible. I really appreciate the work that you enable me to do. If you're interested in becoming a patron and participating in the live stream book club discussions, a link as always is in the description box down below. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you are all doing well, and I will see you soon with another video. Bye.